Coming up on this week's episode, Liam has a story from around the world. We look at the turnaround at Manchester United and West Ham, what went wrong for Liverpool when they took on Manchester City, and I'm back with some more Wonders of White. So let's get started. Hello and welcome to View from the Sideline podcast. This is episode 25. It's Chris here and Liam is here as always. Hello, Liam.
Good evening, Chris. How you doing?
I'm all right. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. Sort of resigned after the football this weekend to what's going to happen.
You seem almost a bit more happier than last week.
Well, yeah. I mean, I didn't watch our game, but by the looks of it, we played quite well. I heard quite a few good reports, but I was in the car for that one, so I could hear it on the radio. But yeah, it's Liverpool, isn't it? It's sort of like a free hit. You don't mind if you don't win them, but yeah, it's the games when you actually think you might get something out of that you don't. That's the really frustrating ones.
Well,
as you know all about from this week, I'd imagine.
Yeah, we won't talk about that just yet. Still a bit painful, but I believe that we'll get right into it. And what's this week's teaser?
So, I thought it was a bit of a success last week. A little bit difficult, but you managed to get a few. So we're going along the nationality theme again.
Okay.
So this week, I want you to name the top 5 Spanish goal scorers of all time in the Premier League. So again, you can pick them out in any order, but you've got 5 attempts to pick the top 5 Spanish goal scorers in the Premier League. So I'll come back to that later from you. Maybe have a think while we're chatting away.
Yes, yeah. It almost seems a bit more harder than last week. So I don't know why. I just can't really. Well, I can think of a couple actually. Yeah, now it's just started writing a couple of names down. It's coming to me a little bit. Cool. Right, so we'll get into this week's talking points, and the first one up was something that I wanted to talk about, and that was, half of what I wanted to talk about and half of what you wanted to talk about. Really, it was the Manchester United and West Ham and the sort of turnaround that we're currently seeing from both sides. Obviously, Manchester United not lost since the restart and looking like a team with a lot of confidence at the moment.
They really do. I think I don't know what Solskjaer's been doing to them during quarantine, but yeah, they look a completely different side. I know obviously Fernandes is new and his partnership with Pogba seems to be going well, but all of a sudden the front three, I know Rashford's been playing quite well, and we all know the talent that Greenwood is, but they're just firing on all cylinders at the minute. It seems every time they have a shot, it's going in. Do you expect them to give you a bit of a run for the Champions League places now? Well, you seemed quite confident the other week.
Well, yeah, obviously we there was a cushion up until sort of last Wednesday when things went drastically wrong. But yeah, definitely. I'd say out of the sort of 4 teams competing at the moment, they're sort of the team that I'm looking at now that I think are going to grab it by the horns and go for it, because like you said, going forward, they just look like a different team at the moment going forward. Martial seems to be scoring freely, and Greenwood, like you said, and Rashford also getting goals as well. Yeah, looking absolutely formidable. And even at the back, where they've had problems this season, Maguire and Lindelof seem to, have done quite well. And Maguire sort of looking like the player that Man United, I think, would have bought him for.
Yeah.
And obviously you add Fernandes in there, and Pogba, who again is sort of obviously has missed the majority of the seasons. It's almost like having a fresh player. This just all seems to be clicking at the moment, and I've heard, albeit a lot of Man United fans say this, but potential challenge for a title next season, maybe, if they can continue how they're playing now, or is that too soon? Or personally, I don't think they will. I still think that they have, although they've got Pogba and Fernandes in the middle, I think they still lack a bit in those positions. And Matic is a good player, don't get me wrong, and Mata is good, but I think Lingard for me is not great. McTominay's all right, but he's still probably learning.
Yeah, I think when you look at the teams at the moment, at the top, Liverpool, Man City, you can see that, albeit, if Salah's injured, Liverpool haven't got a player of that caliber to come in, but they still have Origi as like a ready-made replacement. Like he's come on and made a difference in games before. Man City, likewise, if De Bruyne goes missing, they've got Foden to come in. And if a big player goes out for United, they haven't got that, I think, consistent. I think if I was a Man United fan, I'd lack confidence in the squad as a whole. Whether starting 11, I think, is as good as most of the teams towards the top. I think they would be lacking in a long season. Obviously, we've had a break in this one, but if there's injuries or something like that, they would struggle next year unless they can invest. I don't know how much money Solskjaer will have to spend. Probably, I would imagine, quite a bit. But yeah, it's interesting to hear you say about defensively, because I have noticed that as well. They've not really been conceding goals, but for me, I know he's not played every game since the restart, but Matic has almost found form out of nowhere. I thought before the break he looked like he'd had it. I thought he was on 6 months away from joining a Chinese Premier League team, but he's just seemed to be a bit reinvigorated by the break, and I think he's a different player, and that's helped having that defensive midfielder to allow Pogba and Fernandes to maybe experiment a bit further up the pitch. I think it always helps to have a holding midfielder that you can trust and rely on, and I think he's been that since the restart.
I think the restart has sort of helped them in the fact that they looked tired before all this. And I think the break has actually helped them, whereas it probably hasn't helped other teams like Sheffield United. I think is a good example. I think they've lost all sort of form after this restart, and they're moving down the league rather than sort of maintaining where they were. Obviously, a lot of people said, could they get Champions League, European football next season? But it definitely doesn't look like that now.
Yeah.
But yeah, just overall impressed with Manchester United. And I think you've got the same sort of view on one of your relegation rivals, West Ham.
Yeah, they have impressed me actually since the restart. There was a couple of games where, they didn't quite get the result, but the performance was getting there, and it culminated in the game against you guys last week, and I thought they played really well. They might have got a little bit of luck, but I thought they were just as unlucky with the goal that was ruled out. I think maybe that sense of injustice kind of spurred them on a little bit. But 3 shots on target and 3 goals, you can maybe argue that they were a bit fortunate to get a win, but I think it was fully deserved. And credit to Moyes. I always had a feeling that he was going to turn it around there. And I think if the break hadn't have happened, they might have got a bit of momentum earlier. But because the break did happen, you sort of go back to pre-season fitness, and it's taken a while to run up. But I do expect them now to go on and really make sure that they survive. I think they'll be quite comfortable by the end of the season. And it's now looking like, it's going to be one of the 3 teams. I think Norwich are down still. It's going to be one of the remaining 3 teams of Villa, Bournemouth, and Watford. But yeah, I think they've done very well. But I still think that West Ham are underachieving from what they spend every year, and the amount of fanfare they get whenever they have a seemingly good transfer window, like I thought they did in summer. And they have players like Felipe Anderson and things like that. You think they're going to be an exciting team, and they've sort of petered out this season. But I think he'll start getting the best out of them for the remaining games.
Yeah, going back to the game last week against Chelsea, it was painful to watch. There was a lot of mistakes by Chelsea in that game, and West Ham, I thought, rightfully deserved to win the game in the end. But they do concede a lot of goals, but at the same time, at the moment, they're scoring just as many. So it is
It's
sort of
not like a David
cancelling it.
Moyes team, is it? It's
Yeah,
not
yeah, sort of
very
cancelling it
un-Moyes-like.
itself out. So um, they are starting to crawl away now. And like you said, I probably expect them now just to move on up and get themselves away from that sort of relegation places.
I think they're going to have to be careful not to be there again next year, because it seems to be a
Yeah,
running theme for West Ham. They sort of struggle for a bit of the season, just about do enough, and they seem to keep on investing in the summer, but a lot of their big money transfers don't seem to do that much. So
yeah.
I
But
think
you
they're
look
going to need
at
to spend a bit wiser.
Felipe Anderson last season. He was by far their best players, and he was scoring goals pretty much every other week. But now he can't even get into the team.
No,
So I don't really know what's happened there. But I expect them to be safe. And like you said, I think Norwich are down. I personally think Bournemouth will definitely be going. I don't think that they've at all looked like a team that even want to stay up at the moment. And I think it'll be between Watford and Villa for the other one. So do wait and see. Sort of a shock result, I would say, but mainly the scoreline was a shock. Maybe not so much the result, but the Manchester City Liverpool game last week. Obviously, Liverpool have already wrapped the title up, so there was it was not really a lot to play for Man City, because I think they're pretty much safe in second place anyway, and Liverpool obviously trying to break records left, right, and centre for the league. But it just fell apart for them. It's just
yeah,
it's just crazy. I think it just goes to show that if you go at them, Liverpool, they are. I felt that when we played them in the FA Cup. We didn't sit back. A lot of teams just seemed to sit back against them, but we didn't when we came out with a win. And I think Manchester City did exactly the same. Probably you'd say that they probably very keen to win the game. Man City as well, more so than Liverpool, just because of the whole situation that they've lost out on the league, and they just obviously there just to prove a point. But Phil Foden, I thought he was by far the best player on that pitch, and
yeah.
it's just unbelievable like how sort of mature of a game he had. It was just
He looks like a real
not
prospect.
not not a performance that we've seen of him to date, really. And yeah,
I was very glad he got the chance, because
yeah,
they seem to use him a bit sparingly. A cup game here, bring him off the bench, but to actually give him a chance in one of the bigger games, shall we say, and I think he took it. It gives Pep a bit of a headache as to how often he can play him now, because he's done everything right. Every time he does get a game, he seems to impress. So it can't be much longer before he's starting every week. But then who do you leave out of that
yeah.
Man
Well,
City midfield in
but
order for
you've
him to come
got
in?
this is the thing. What do they do now? Because obviously David Silva is leaving this season. Is he the man to fill those shoes, or do you
Mm.
think that they will look elsewhere and try and bring in sort of that sort of marquee big money signing?
I think it. Well, I think it'll be interesting. If we'd had any other season, I would have said they would have gone out and spent big and bought someone in, probably from abroad, to replace Silva. But having seen how Liverpool kept the squad together that finished second the year before, didn't really spend that much, kept them as a unit, trained them in exactly the same way, and said, "Look, if it's winning games, we're going to keep doing it until we get it right and win." He might have a change of heart and just sort of change the emphasis of Man City a bit and say, "Well, look, we've got the youngsters here. We might as well give them a go." Obviously, Foden's shown he can do it against Liverpool. That I'm guessing we're a bit hungover, but still, he's shown he can do it on a big game, and I don't know why he wouldn't give him a chance now. It will be interesting next year to see whether Pep does decide the usual Man City tactic of, I'm going to spend 150, 200 million, completely reinvent the squad.
I think this is all going to depend on as well what's going to happen with them in the Champions League. I think if they get kicked out, I think he's probably got more chance of playing more games because I don't think they'll generally go out and buy too many big players. Well, they might not have a choice because a lot of the big players want to play in Champions League. So
Yeah.
that it might already be obviously lucky for him if they do actually get kicked out. But
I think
we'll
there'd
see.
be in danger. I mean, we saw it with Sancho leaving Man City, and it raised a few eyebrows going to Dortmund. But his career has gone from strength to strength, and I think there'll probably be a lot of young players, talented young players at Man City
Yeah,
that'll be keeping an eye on it, thinking, well, if Foden's not going to get a chance, if Sancho's not going to get a chance, how likely am I to make it into the team? And they might look to go elsewhere. Whereas you've got Chelsea, I mean, as you know, now they're playing the youngsters. It's going to give them more encouragement to go on and be better people because they think they're going to get into the first team. They think there might be a chance. So I think without Champions League football, it's going to be hard to draw in big names. Why not give them a go?
definitely.
I think they might as well. But then, judging by the performance at Southampton, maybe they do need to reinvest.
Well, yeah. Well,
Maybe they need a new keeper. I mean, he hasn't made many mistakes, but a
we
great
might as
goal,
well
amazing finish.
go on
But
to that goal, really, innit? Because we wanted to talk about that. I
yeah,
didn't realise that was his first Premier League goal.
what a way to open your account. That's
It was
astonishing.
so well taken as well, and
Yeah,
obviously because when you're in that situation, the keeper's obviously playing some sort of sweeper position because he's miles off his line. You have to hit the target if you're going to do it, because if you don't, you've just practically given the ball away,
yeah,
and you're back under pressure. But yeah, what a finish that was,
great finish.
and for it to be the winning goal as well, and
Yeah,
pretty much move Southampton completely away from any sort of danger now.
I think they'll be looking up next year. I really do. I've got to hold my hands up. I felt the worst for them this year. I genuinely thought that they
Yeah,
were going to be struggling and scrapping away, and for a while they were. But Hassan Huttle has really changed my opinion. I think he looks like a good motivator. He's passionate on the touchline. I think he gets the players working for him. And yeah, next year, I mean, I think they're comfortably mid-table by now. But next year, I think you could be looking at a top half finish if he can find the right players to add in summer. And yeah, I
yeah,
think they could really go from. But going back to the goal, I mean, like you said, he hadn't scored a Premier League goal for 23 or 4 games or however many he's had. The confidence to try that when you've gone 20 odd games without a
it's all or
goal is
nothing really,
just
isn't it? At
yeah,
that point, it's just yeah,
yeah,
it was a really good finish and well taken, and yeah, it's just weird to see really because it's hard to believe that that's the Southampton team that lost to
yeah,
Leicester. What was it,
9-0.
9-0?
Yeah,
Jeez, that was back in October last year. So
yeah. So
uh,
it's amazing the job that he's done to turn the fortunes around. But I remember the game after the 9-0, I think they went away to Man City
and they
and
played really
gave
well,
them a
didn't they?
proper game. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
was it 3-2 or something
They
like that.
lost, yeah, but they did
But
play really well.
they put their heart and soul into it, and from that moment, really, I thought they've got a manager that can really get them playing. And yeah, credit to him. I think he's done a great job.
Yeah, so well, that was the talking points for this week. So that is the end of part one as well. So in part two, we'll be back with a story from the archives that Liam's building. I just imagine you now. You just sat there in your armchair with a pipe,
Yeah,
and you
just
got all these football encyclopedias behind you, just
yeah, just flicking through them,
looking
trying to
through
find
them
this
just to
week's.
find one. Yeah. I will have some more from the Wonders of White, and I will also try and guess Liam's teaser this week. So I'll be back in part two. Hello and welcome back to part two of View from Sideline podcast. We're going to get straight into it, Liam. So tell us your story this week.
Right. So this week's story is a little bit more modern. I'm not diving right back into the 60s. This week's story involves the controversial figure of Jermaine Pennant. So, for those of you that can't remember, Jermaine Pennant was a right winger. He played for Arsenal, he played for Stoke, Birmingham, Liverpool, and later on in his career, he played for a Spanish team. I don't know if you remember, Chris, called Real Zaragoza.
Yeah,
I think I
yeah.
pronounced that properly. So you might remember Jermaine Pennant. He was the first high-profile footballer to wear an ankle tag after a few drink driving incidents. He had a little bit of jail time. And apparently, and this is just a rumour, so if he is listening, please don't sue us. But apparently, when he got arrested, he told the police that he was Ashley Cole. That was a rumour that I found. Anyway, in the summer of 2009, Jermaine Pennant signed for Real Zaragoza. He had a pretty rubbish year at the club. He was always late for training. His form wasn't very good. He didn't get on with the manager, so they quickly shipped him off to Stoke City. He went on loan, and then he eventually signed for them permanently. So, 5 months after joining Stoke City, Jermaine Pennant receives a phone call from Real Zaragoza to say that his Porsche has been sat at Zaragoza train station and abandoned for the entire time. As if that wasn't bad enough, Spanish paper Marca reported that when Zaragoza phoned him to let him know, Pennant had no recollection that he owned the car. Zaragoza officials had to break into his car, which had the registration number P33NNT, which is a bit of a giveaway, and discovered the keys were on the seat. So this was a brand new, I think it was something like a £50,000 Porsche that he forgot he owned, and he left at a Spanish train station for 5 months. Unbelievable. Only footballer can do that.
Oh my word. If he ever went and got it back, he probably just gave it to someone, didn't
I
he?
think he just gave it away. I think he just said that they can keep it. He just
That's mad.
He forgot he owned a top of the range Porsche. Who forgets that?
That's quite a big thing to forget, really, isn't it? I can't say I've ever forgotten anything that sort of big that I've owned.
He must have. I can imagine him driving to the train station in that much of a hurry to get out the club, to just abandon your car and leave it and just forget about it. He must have had nightmares about that place in order to forget he owned it. But yeah, there we go. So that's the story for this week.
Nice one. God, I just can't get over that. How you would just be like, yeah, nah, just write it off. That's what I mean. Right. Okay. So we'll move on to the Wonders of White this week. So Pep Guardiola has lost 3 consecutive away league games for the first time in his career.
Oh God, that's impressive.
The next one you're not going to like, by the way. Aston Villa are winless in 8 Premier League games. That's the longest current winless run in the competition.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Which means 4 more as you are bottom. Every one of Mikel Antonio's 30 Premier League goals have come inside the box.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I was more surprised that he actually scored 30 goals. That was the most surprising fact, I think, for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Willian is just the 6th Premier League player in history to score a penalty in 3 consecutive games.
Are you going to ask me to name the other 5?
I was going to see, I've got them. If you want to have a little guess, you can have a little guess at the other 5.
So what? 3 Premier League games in a row. So
yeah.
I'm guessing Shearer.
No.
Letitia.
No.
I'm just trying to think of people who had
I'll
decent
records. I'll give you a clue.
Rooney's got to be one.
Rooney is not one. So there's one from 94, 2 from 2003, 1 from 2015, and 2017. I'll give you the clubs that they played for.
Yeah, go on, help me out.
94, Arsenal.
94 Arsenal, so that's pre-Henry and Berger. Ian Wright?
Ian Wright, correct.
Nice. Yeah.
2003, Liverpool.
Gerrard.
Nope.
Fowler?
Close.
Owen,
yeah.
I always forgot he took penalties.
Also 2003, Manchester United.
2003. That would have been about the first year that Rooney signed, though, wouldn't it? So who would he have been with?
His surname is split into two names.
Oh, Van Nistelrooy, gotta be.
That's all right.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah.
2015. This is going to be difficult because I think it was Newcastle.
I think it was it Kabay?
Yeah, it is Kabay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would have been 2015. Would have been
He
Newcastle.
took all the set pieces. He was good.
And
good.
this one's pretty straightforward actually. 2017 Manchester City.
Aguero.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got there in the end. I needed the club today. Thanks, mate.
You can now add William to that illustrious list of
Nice.
players.
That is a good list of players.
And he could break the record if he scores against Palace tomorrow night, a penalty. So they'd be kind enough to
Keep your fingers crossed.
to do that. That'd be nice of them. Well, I suppose it's only fair that you've had your.
You've given me a teaser.
Yes, it's only right that I try and take a guess at your ones.
So
now,
you've been scribbling down
I've got
Spanish goal
six.
scorers.
I've got 6 names,
Yep.
and I'm confident of probably 3/4.
Right.
I'll go for the obvious one is Torres, and I probably think he's probably first or second at least.
He is first.
First, yeah.
Well done. Yep.
Okay.
85 goals.
First, pretty good. Second, I'm going to go with David Silva.
Going to go with David Silva. He is second. Well done.
He's
that's
second,
57 goals, so quite a big difference.
Okay, I'm going to go for... Am I going to go for him? I'll go for... Oh, no. Okay, I'll go for Fabregas. Am I going to go for...
Cesc Fabregas.
Yes.
He is 5th on the list with 50 goals, so he is just
50?
there.
Oh,
he got 50 goals.
Oh, this is really putting into doubt my other choice now because I think he's probably got less. Juan Mata.
He's going for Juan Mata.
Oh no, he ain't got 50.
He's number 4. 51 goals.
So who's this third? I've got 2 names in front of me, and it's definitely not him. I don't think. Oh, I want to go with the other Chelsea guy. I'll go Costa.
You got 5 out of 5. Diego Costa, number 3, with 52 goals. So 3rd, 4th, and 5th got 52, 51, 50 goals. Out of interest, what was your other guess?
Michu was the other one, mate.
Michu is, in fact, he's joint 10th.
Well, there you go. Look. He was the only other. He was. I don't know why he sprung to mind, but I remember he had that really good season, and then I thought, well, he's probably got at least 20 or 30.
He's on 20 goals. He's joint 10th with 2 other players. He's joint 10th with Gerard Deulofeu, who I didn't realise had 20 goals, and Marcus Alonso.
Yeah,
who has 20 goals.
Okay.
So
he was 6th.
I'll round out the top 10. So you got the top 5. So 6th is Mikel Arteta with 41 goals. 7th is Jose Perez with 40 goals. Again, I didn't realise.
Quite a lot, yeah.
Then you've got Pedro on 29.
Yeah.
And you've got Santi Cazorla on 25. And then joint 10th, Marcos Alonso, Gerard Deulofeu, and Michu.
Cazorla was another one I was thinking of, but I didn't think he scored that many for...
No, he was sort of a holding midfielder for Arsenal by the end of it, so I don't think he got that many in his last couple of years. But yeah, an interesting list because there's a lot of big names from Spain that did obviously play in the Premier League and either found it a bit difficult or they were in the wrong position, like Xabi Alonso's and Negredo's, and Morata obviously struggled with you guys and stuff like that. So I just thought it was quite an interesting list.
Cross my mind, mate.
Yeah, no, he only got 16.
Yeah.
Definitely. Even Bojan sneaks in the top 20 with 14 goals. So
the phony Messi.
Yeah,
Bojan.
Had to be the next big thing.
Oh God, what a waste of time he was in the end, wasn't it? Is he still at Stoke?
I have no idea.
At Stoke, isn't he? Yeah, he's I swear I've looked this up in the last 6 months, and he's still there.
I'll have a look for you now, just to put you out of your misery. I'll see where he must have been out on loan quite a few times, if he is still there. But no, he has moved. He's moved recently. He's gone to Montreal Impact. So he's
So
decided to make the
things,
mistake.
things have gone well for him, haven't they?
Yeah. He's
I
still only
remember because he
29. It
played.
seems like he's been around for years and he's only 29.
I'm pretty sure he came on. I'm going to bring this up again because as a Chelsea fan, it's probably one of my best moments as Champions League. So the semi-final, I think, when we played Barcelona, I'm pretty sure he played played a part in both of the legs in those games. Definitely remember him coming on. So yeah.
Didn't do them any good though, did it?
Obviously not, mate. We're
No.
absolute beast, mate. Absolute beast in that time, mate. I'll never forget that moment. There's just moments of football that you will never forget. I think we'll have to do this one week, sort of our favourite football moments or something like that, mate. Maybe.
God. I haven't had many as a Villa fan, mate. Got to go quite far back in time to get some of them.
Well, you've had some good results recently. We've got to be
We've
up there,
lost
like your
in some
promotion.
finals, but we've been in some finals at least. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be fair,
I just think you've
playoff
always
win.
got those moments that you'll never. Doesn't even really, the moments that I know, obviously with Yeovil as well. Like, I've got some fond memories of the games there as well. So, yeah, maybe we'll do that when the season comes to an end. We'll do our football moments. Get your football encyclopedias out.
I will get my encyclopedias out and go, yeah. My favourite footballing moment was in 1894 when Villa last won the title. It was great.
Oh, I bet you were buzzing that day.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Cool. Well, we'll be back next week. Have you got anything else?
No, nothing else from me.
The next sort of week or so. I know Chelsea have got Palace and I think they've got Sheffield United. So I'm not going to say they're winnable games because I said that last week and I shot myself in the foot. So
You've got a better run than we have. So we're Man United next. So after I've just talked them up, I hope that it's the sort of curse of the commentator and Man United don't turn up that day.
Oh, no.
And then we've got Palace as well. So
could be doing us big favours, mate. Big favours needed. I tell you, you scratch, our backs, we'll scratch yours. We'll beat. Well, we've got one of the teams, I think, around you. Didn't do any favours with West Ham. Yeah. So apologies about that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be back next week, so we will see you then.